Hello, what is up guys? It is I, PC Geekish, and today I am back with another KSP episode, but the only problem is today, this is a pre-recorded episode, and I did it on accident. As I was recording, I forgot to enable my mic back, and while I was recording, I was basically talking to myself for the whole 50 minutes. The whole time I was just talking to myself, and it was all crazy. You guys missed a lot of the talking action, and it was fun. But then, in the end, as I watched the episode again, I was like, oh crap, I forgot to enable mic. And then I was really mad at that point. And I'm like, oh, piss this. I'm just gonna continue with the episode, except I'm just gonna make a narration of my own, and I'm kind of gonna shorten up the video a little in the build. Because I thought the build was a little bit of a useless part since I am not narrating at all, and I think the build part is kind of boring at all at some point, because I'm just, sitting there talking, just figuring out which part, so I'm basically going to skip that whole part right there. So basically, pretty much, all I'm doing here is just building my first Mark 1 rocket, and you guys will see the name of it. It's pretty much the Vegetable Explorer Mark 1, or just call it Vegetable Explorer 1. It didn't go too well. That's a little bit of a spoiler, and you might be asking, what am I going to do with this rocket? Going to the moon, to space? Anywhere else boring? Are you ever going to go to, grow some balls and go somewhere else? In fact, I am. And this wondrous expedition will be going to Minmus. And it'll be 3 attempts, actually. It would be only 3 attempts. The first and second one, you guys will see what happens. The third one is one of the wackiest of all, because when you go to Minmus in that far of distance, you would only expect yourself to stay there and not come back. Or maybe you could, come back, but you're never ever gonna go anywhere else. But in this mission, I took a little bit of risk, and I noticed that, taking a risk could be beautiful sometimes. You could do wondrous stuff. And you guys will see in this episode what I did. Take that risk. A little more details that instead of going home straight away from Kerbal, I kind of went to another place. It's already obvious, I'm just going to give it away. The Mun. Yes, I basically went to the Mun after going to Minmus. And I still have, half of a fuel tank left, but I was like, there's not much here, so I'm just gonna go back to Kerbal. And I gathered a lot of science experiments by Minmus and Mun combined, and I did some on Kerbal, and then Kerbal became useless now, and now we're home free. We are now we had 100 something science points in the end, and I will cut through the building stage here all the way down till the end of the building stage, and I will see you guys then. Alright, so now we're back again, and this is me just checking everything's alright with the staging. Again, this will be our first expedition. Actually, I made 4 attempts in this one, but this one, actually no, it was 3 attempts. Yeah, you guys are only gonna see the first attempt that I made to go to to Minmus, and the first attempt didn't go too well, and you guys will eventually see in the end how it didn't turn well. But it will be an exciting venture, and after the first attempt, I kind of slaughtered the episode right there, and it was a bit of a mess up, but you guys will see the outcome, the actual outcome, on why going to Minmus and all that is so worth it. Now you guys will see me launch this shit, and you guys are gonna see me epically fail, because if you guys closely look at this clusterfuck, you guys are gonna notice a lot of things. Things are starting to be imbalanced, and the radial fuel tanks, the fuel propellants, the things that are hanging out to the side of the booster stage, the second stage, that thing is not symmetrical with the rocket, so that's kind of throwing us off course. And I was like, what the heck is this shit? Why am I freaking off balance? And you guys will see in this video. See, the radial engines are not as symmetrical, and I was like, oh, that's why. Rookie mistake, never mind. I was like, I thought it was the freaking manufacturer's fault. The engineers can't build rocket for shit, and it's my fault. But yeah, so after this launch, you guys are gonna see things go wrong. It just doesn't turn well. And look at this clusterfuck near the capsule. It's just mayhem. You know, it's a bad design, and Bill was in it too. I wasn't supposed to put Bill in. I was like, oh crap, Bill, why did you snuck in freaking on board? Do you want to be famous, Bill? You want to die? But you're probably gonna die anyways. But unfortunately, he is not. I mean, fortunately, he's not dead. Fortunately, of course. If he was to die, I would have been sad. But practically after this episode, after this scene, everything's gonna start turning south. And so that's why I decided to put this in the video. Just wait for it. Ta-da! We're experiencing minor technical difficulties. Please wait. And then eventually, you know, another scene pops up. And this is where the cool things start. I have music in it. Like, I put another airport tycoon music in the earlier episode that I put. And this time I made some few modifications. This is like Expedition 4. No, the third expedition. The third expedition. And I will put in the screen like with the caption. It's the third expedition. I call it the Logical Expedition to Minmus. Minmus or bust. I thought in this episode, Minmus or bust. Am I going to make it to Minmus or not? And you guys will see how tiny the freaking rocket is. And by the point where we initiated the booster stage, our rocket was going like over 1,000 meters per second, and we were like starting to see this Mach effect in the atmosphere. But unfortunately, we're in space now. You guys can't see it anymore. But this is where I kind of lost my orientation within the rocket, because I didn't know I was pressing the wrong key. Another rookie mistake. But trust me, I'm not a rookie in this game. I'm definitely a pro. And the radial engines do help. Believe it or not, guys. Trust me, the radial engines do help. If you have the chance to use them, use them. And my recommendation is to use 2, depending on your rocket size. Mine fits for 2. Again, you guys will see it. It is a very efficient rocket technique to use radial engines. It will help. It doesn't have that much weight at all, really. But you know, it doesn't have thrust vectoring for some reason. I think it doesn't have thrust vectoring, and you will see that awesome separation. And you guys may think, okay, well, you have the mini poodle, and why choose the mini poodle? As you all know, I have the solar panels now. And you guys will not have to worry about me having to kill another Kerbal just because we ran out of power. And we will not be transmitting data anymore, because we will be bringing them home. And at this point, though, you guys will notice that the mini poodle also with a small fuel tank. And actually, I have 2 fuel tanks on that, but the first one is like a tiny little piece fuel tank, and the second one's like, you know, a medium to small fuel tank. And it was a decent flight. And so at this point, I was kind of getting worried whether I'm gonna make it or not. You guys will see me be extremely nervous if I had the audio on the whole time, and if I was not as retarded. And you guys will see me do a quick punch and go maneuver. I was trying to make some risky maneuvers. At this point, I was doing some guesstimation. And if I made some correct estimation, I was pointing that way, voicing clockwise. And I always have to aim kind of like a 90 degrees clockwise a lead of your target. Like the Mon, you have to make like a 45-degree lead towards your target. For Minmus, you have to make like a 90-degree lead on your target, or like an 80 or 70, around that range. Mon is like 45, or you could just launch during Moonrise, like TLI during Moonrise. But this one, you have to be like 90 degrees around that era to go to Minmus. And I have a liquid poodle, so I had to do some guesstimation, which is the awesome part. I did some awesome guesstimating to determine if I'm gonna get the correct trajectory or not. So I kind of guesstimated. So look at the burn closely. You will see that I have to burn for 1 minute and 13 seconds. So what I did is I kind of burned around the 45 to 40 second era just to get myself into the correct trajectory. And it takes a lot of guesstimating, especially when you only have like 50 horsepower. I don't know if it's horsepower or newtons, I don't really know. Probably horsepower. 50 horsepower just to burn ourselves. And so I did some correct guesstimating, and eventually it worked well. So that's what you should do, guys, kids. You always have to guesstimate when you're doing a burn with the poodle. If you have to do like a 2-minute burn, you only burn for like 1.5 minutes, so you won't have to waste your other times. Or you can just burn in 1 minute. And yeah, guesstimating is quite important in this game, because sometimes it's not all about the precise calculations. You have to make some guesses, and it takes risk, and it takes guts too. So unless you really want to lose crew, and I thought of rage quitting at first if I didn't succeed, but I know that I was going to succeed, and so at this part I kind of skipped myself towards the periapsis, so I can actually burn my engines or my launch window, and you guys will see it in just a moment. And you guys notice how much fuel I have, and you guys will notice how much fuel I will have when I reach Minmus, and then I go to the Mun, another transit, and then back home. You guys will notice how much fuel I still have left. And in the end, I end up saying this spacecraft is one of the most superior spacecraft I've ever made in, career mode in general. Maybe the best of all, because I've never noticed such spacecraft like this. Because if you think closely, that tiny rocket can take you to Minmus and to the Mun, and it still have half of the fuel tank left. Half of the fuel tank, guys. Half of the fuel tank left. And you went to Minmus and to the Mun. And if you circularize and get back, you would probably have about 1/3. But think of this thing going to, like, Duna or whatever. Maybe Duna and you won't come back, but I don't know. Maybe you could go to Duna. I've never really tried it before, but I am looking forward to trying it later. But, guys, that's like over, if you do the thing right, you probably wasted about 800 meters, maybe more than 800 meters of delta V, like almost 1,000 meters of delta V that I've wasted on this, and I still had like half of the fuel tank left. Okay, so pretty much this thing is quite useful. So yeah, it's been nice, and I kind of had that lunar approach right there, but I kind of was like, nah, forget it. Alright, so you guys will see that I had a Minmus approach, and I was like, oh snap. I immediately kind of stopped, and I was like, woohoo, celebrating and all that. Like, we're going to Minmus, boys. And you guys are gonna see the if only I was smart enough to check my audio, I would have been golden right there. Because the narration was fun. It was kind of funny. I had some awesome peace music from Airport Tycoon, but unfortunately ended. But look, I'm gonna stop the narration. I guess no, I shouldn't stop the narration. I'm just gonna keep going, and you guys are gonna see me do some crazy science experiments. And I guess I'm gonna stop my narration like when I get into like orbit, because I didn't really have anything to say besides gather experiments and all that stuff. And you guys will notice a lot of things during this. And I'm 1 million something away from Minmus, and so what I did is I would figure out if I'm gonna have to burn earlier, or should I burn when periaph? Now, the logical thing to do is when you burn during periaph, because that's when you use less fuel, and you will probably get into a better circular kind of orbit. Yeah, circularization. But I tried doing some guesstimating, but if you know what I'm talking about, burning on where you are instead of burning at the periapsis, you will use up more fuel. But I was really thinking of the fuel buy when I reached Minmus, even though I had like almost, not even, I still have like almost half of a tank, more than half of a tank. And when I left Minmus, I still had half, so I basically used like a % just to leave Minmus. And it wasn't too hard at all, to be honest with you. And then I went to the Mun, and then back to Kerbal. And you guys have no idea how excited I was to gather all the science experiments. And so if you watch peacefully, you will see that I'm making fine tuning just to see if I could use the least amount of delta V. And I'm being very conservative at this point. I was like, oh, I'm gonna make it or not. And I didn't really pay attention to the amount of fuel I had. All I paid attention was to whether I'm gonna make it home, or whether I'm gonna make, die in space and be forgotten and known as the freaking loner in space or whatever. Well, not really loner. You got Corny up there somewhere in solar orbit, but we don't have to focus on it now. So pretty much, I'm gonna have to cut the narration here. Actually, no. You guys can see me circularize this sexy circularization, and it takes fine tuning for me to get into very low altitude. I try to get myself like to around that 11,000 kind of era thing on my orbit for my periapsis. It may not show it now, I think, and then eventually I will, because I decided to, because I have a shit ton of fuel, as I noticed that point. I was like, why not? But I tried going not too close that I would hit the highlands and the mountains, Because if I did, I would have been like rage quitting, but I doubt that'll happen. I'm a very stellar pilot. I even invented one of the most puggiest aircraft. Well, I know that's not the first puggy aircraft that you've seen. It's my how to build a spaceplane tutorial. It's quite small, you know. It's very compact, like only 7 or 8 parts. But you could minimize that to like a 5-part aircraft if you like to. So you will see me circularize. It's not too powerful. Oh, you actually just saw me had like some sort of a lunar encounter at that point. I was like, oh my god, why am I getting all this lunar encounters? I am so lucky. My launch window is exactly where I want it to be. I'm like, this is my lucky time. So while I was doing the real narration, you guys will hear me talking about going to the Mun after this. But I was like, you know, should I go or should I not? You know, because it's a risky operation if I think of it. You know, going from Minmus to Mun, I was like, do I have the fuel? Do I have the guts and all that stuff? But you know, I decided to take some risk. And you guys see, I have like half of a fuel tank, and yet they're not being used. And yeah. And I did some crew reports, as you will see. I'm going to do a few EVA reports. Right now, I'm going to do some EVA reports over Minmus. I actually did 2 or 3 EVA reports and 2 crew reports in total. Okay, so it was an awesome, and all of them, I counted like 147 science points in total. But I earned 106 science points from the mission itself. But it was a huge accomplishment, though, believe it or not. I'm actually quite surprised that I'd make it that far. So now I can actually research 2 things, but the research thing I haven't done yet, which I will do in the future, in the next episode. So yeah, I'm just gonna skip us right next. You guys are gonna see me do stuff, and I'm just gonna end the narration here, and I'll see you guys next time in a little while. Alright, as you all notice closely, I am quite close to the highlands, the mountains. And it's quite risky out there. So I'm just going to end the narration here. So you will notice, it will be quite close, but I'm not too close. And, but plus, I'm running in quarter resolution, so I'm not even sure. But the texture looks quite promising that I'm actually quite close. And, I wouldn't consider this operation a risky one, but it is quite close to the mountains. I was like, oh, am I gonna hit? Is this like the highest peak? And I actually found a mountain that's actually as high as our orbit in 8,000. I think it was like 7,000. It's not as high. It's like 1 kilometer below us, and I was like, "Whoa!" Luckily, I'm in like a polar kind of orbit inclination. I'm like 90 degrees right now, and if I went equatorial and I went like 8,000, I would have been like this close from crushing, like a pinch of it to a mountain. And that's how close I am. You guys will notice I'm just like making some minor adjustments and see if I can actually make myself go home. I'm just focusing on going home at this point because I did my scientific experiments already. So you'll see me do some maneuvers and fail some maneuvers, and I kind of made my final decision afterwards. You guys will see my final decision, but it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be much of a risky one, but I can tell you it's fun. It's fun going like transiting to different other moons and planets. I think it's just fun to use your engines just to slow you down just enough to go to the mun, and then slingshot you back to Kerbal. Not slingshot, but make a pass. If I'm speaking correctly. I'm actually quite speechless at this point. It's like, wow, this is a very good, spaceship that I made, and I did a really good job for the third try. Because, guys, keep in mind, I never tested this out before. I never ever tested it before. So it's pretty much all guessing, all this noobish guess. But I did well. Gotta admit. And, you guys are pretty much just gonna see me just trumble around here, just going here and there. And as I reach the mun, I will re-narrate back. Alright, so now I'm actually around the Mun. I'm just making a pass. I am not circularizing my orbit. In fact, I'm just gonna pass around, do an EVA report. I couldn't do a crew report for some reason. It just doesn't let me. It's a bit of a douchey move, but alright. And after I just go to the moon, I just went straight back to Kerbal. And guys, look at the amount of fuel I still have after I made the burn to re-enter Kerbal. Alright, so in the moment, you guys will see my fuel first. And you guys will see my final result. So, alright, that you will see I would barely less than half of a fuel tank. And as I get home, you guys will see me with still like 1/3 of a fuel tank left, as right there. It's not even 1/3, it's over 1/3. And I was like, you know, if I had this thing, I would have gone back to Minmus again, but you know, that's not what I'm here for. I'm only here to do exactly what I'm here to do. And it's a fun thing to do, you know, just to mess around in Kerbal Space Program, doing some multiple transits. And if I had a docking port, I would have docked with a few ships that I could refuel with. Unfortunately, I am not at that stage of research yet. I wish I was, though. I really do. And I guess this is all I have to talk about now, because now we're basically re-entering Kerbal. And you know, clap your hands for the brave logical expedition towards Minmus and the Mun. And this is basically a huge accomplishment for me, for being like, oh my god, we've actually done this. And in the end, you guys will see me very excited, because I've never actually, you know, retransited in just one tiny spaceship, especially when this one is a small ship, because I've only done like major operations with the Rokomaxis one, like the huge, you know, the huge ass tanks one. This is a small, you know, small spaceship, and I'm actually quite surprised it made it all the way here. And I was also kind of curious that I didn't burn 100% of my fuel. So the amount of fuel that I have now is adding weight to my parachute. So when I initiate my parachute, I'm gonna fall like 20 meters per second or something like that. But it didn't really happen, because I ended up burning most of my fuel as I get down, because I didn't have enough. My speed was too fast, so I kind of bounced off the atmosphere. But luckily, I have the fuel tank still attached for me to get back. And as you all know, I pretty much wasted most of my fuel trying to get, like, yeah, trying to slow down my spaceship, and eventually having a nice soft touchdown in the water, basically a splashdown. And this is awesome, guys. For a small spaceship, it's quite sturdy, and it's very maneuverable. It's also very, you know, multi-purpose, because usually when I deal with big rockets, I only expect big rockets to do this kind of objective, like to go to Minmus, go to the Mun, and back. And you know, I guess I was proven wrong, because this is the first time I've ever done it with a small, tiny ship like the Mini Poodle. The Mini Poodle, what kind of surprises me, that it would take such a journey from Kerbal to Minmus to Mun and back, and it is amazing. And so you guys will see me overexcited if I had my actual narrations on, my vocals. But unfortunately not. But it's been a good episode dealing with you guys, and I guess I'm gonna have to sign off, and enjoy the rest of this video. You could just leave immediately if you'd like to. Comment on what you think. Make some constructive criticism, besides the fact that this expedition was a little too short, and I could have continued it in another episode, and it could have been shorter, like 30 minutes, if I didn't have to continue this whole thing. But you know, this is it's the best I could have done. I try to fit all the whole mission in one little episode, and it worked well. So comment on what you think. Make some constructive criticism. Tell me what I need to improve on, and I will. And I mean, I will improve it. I will do my best to do so. And yeah. Besides the fact that, of course, my vocals is screwed. I'm new to Bandicam, guys, so don't bully me or anything. I'll promise you I'll get better at using Bandicam. And so yeah, it is IPC Geekish. Have a nice evening. I'm actually gonna just sign off right now. So comment what you think, rate this video, subscribe if possible. And this end of this video, you guys are going to see me fool around kind of like a motorboat, going at a very slow speed across the water, and like, I was so retarded. I could have died at that point if I was going too fast. I was like, oh my god. skidding across the water, and then I was done for. I was like, let's end the episode here. And then, so I also gathered a few water samples from Kerbal, and I was like, it's nothing. And yeah, it is IPC Geekish. Remember, comment what you think. Have any questions, comment, suggestions, comment, criticisms, comment. I don't care if it's hate or love. It doesn't really matter to me. I just want to give my feedback, and I hope you guys enjoy my feedback. And yeah, it is IPC Geekish, signing off to you all. Have a good evening, and I wish you a Merry Christmas.